somewhere where it said that, you know, if you save one life, you're God. If you save many lives, then you're a nurse.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely.
So beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think, you know, I know our healthcare system is not perfect, but gratitude to our healthcare professionals tomorrow when we are meeting them, I think that would go a long way. So I'm going to wind up with the last question, and I'm coming back to Mr. Matthew here. What would be that one message that you would like to give from the education industry to all of us sitting here in terms of mental health?
First of all, these are the real deal stories that both of them shared. The depth, the nuance of the experience, and especially Dr. Shashi's story. My sister is a nurse and she works in an old age home. So I know the vicarious trauma she's experiencing, so it was such wonderful privilege to hear those stories. Now coming back to the question, the landscape of mental health is kind of changing, and one very important thing that as teachers, mental health professionals have to understand is that a person's mental health cannot be confined to, let's say, the diagnosis from the DSM or the ICD.
Exactly.
Right? And we are slowly shifting from that predominance of the medical model, and we have to understand each person in their unique historical, socio-cultural context. And that is very important, because when a student comes to me, I mean, two students comes to me, both of them, according to the DSM-5 criteria, satisfy depression. But then I, as a caregiver, will be completely wrong if I treat both students equally. Because the context in which they're coming from is completely different, right? And Sir asked a question in his speech, like, why is sometimes counseling not working? It is simply because of this. We are not trying to understand and be present for the student or the client, understanding where they're coming from. So I was reading an article when I was there. It's called The Ecologies of Suffering. It's like how even local ecological factors, even the political scenarios, international scenarios, all shape that particular person's mental health at that time.
Absolutely.
So that is very important. Even when you're looking at trauma, it's very easy to diagnose PTSD and these are the criteria and this one. That is important, very important. It's there. But we also have to give a time to listen and understand the personal meanings and lived experiences of that traumatic event of that person, and which will be completely different for one person to another. And coming back to the school setting, what I've noticed in our school and my work as intern is that it is very important to understand that, and bringing all the stakeholders together, like to, as Sir also mentioned, it takes a village to raise a child. It's absolutely true, and schools have to be spaces in which that that facility is there, in which a lot of people are coming together to help that child to understand that child's personal context. And that is where change actually happens. I can actually easily finish a session, 4 sessions in which, okay, I give behavioral activation techniques, I did a one activity, which kind of happens. I'm not saying that everything is hunky-dory, because we have our limitations. But one session in which, okay, this is where you're coming from. These are the different factors in which these is showing. And that would have a greater impact, and which all stakeholders can be included in that process for that unique person. That is where the change has to come, according to my experience and observations. That is where it has to come. And now it has, like, we have more emphasis have to be given to preventive measures rather than curative measures when it comes to mental health.
Right.
And that is why the reason MEP and all introduction to life skill courses, and I'm teaching life skills in the school. So like that discourse about mental health, that active dialogue of mental health is there. So I think this understanding the unique context.
Matthew. So I'm summing up Matthew's message here, and I think it's a very interesting message. One, to look at mental health always from a context. if we have to really be effective. Otherwise, we are just going to put things in a framework with no essence in it. And then the second part is to keep the conversation going. We cannot say this is the last case study. We cannot say this is the last suffering person. There's always the ecology that plays. I'm bringing back the same question to you, sir. So what would be that one message that you would say to people who are going to be part of mental health from your life experience, what you have observed? What do you think they can carry back home as a message?
Your students?
Yeah, students, all of us here are students.
Yeah.
So our students specifically and all of us.
Okay. Two things. One is a general message saying that, like I was saying, what I have learned, I've gone through is that mental health is no different from the physical health. Just like we need treatment for physical health, treat it equally, it's no different. So there is no need to attach the so-called stigma to it. So if you have a mental health issue, you or your family members seek support, and also as a family member, you extend whatever support that is required to them, number one. Number two, in my opinion, I have seen most of these mental health issues is there in our culture. It starts from a childhood stage. Frankly speaking, some of us as parents, we also contribute to it. Let's not get into this rat race of pushing our children to do something that other children have done. I mean, let them be different. Okay, let them. It's not like Dr. Shashi was saying. In our days, it was if you are either an engineer or a doctor or a chartered accountant, the bank employee, you have to have a government job. Otherwise, you are dead. So today's world is not like that. Today, there are so many choices. So let them, like Alok was trying to do, is they let them develop their own identity. Okay, they don't need to be like our neighbor's son who has done computer science and gone to US. Okay, so no, he wants to be in animation thing and all that, so it's fine. So let them do things that they, in my opinion, enjoy doing. Okay, so they don't need to be like others. So that is number one. Number two, my personal experience is I'm not from IIT or I'm not from IIM. I'm from JNTU College, Anantapur, but I've been successful in life. So don't think that ranks or the top institute, they do matter, but I'm saying there's no need to, that is not the only one which makes you successful. My belief or what I have learned is that it is not what you have that makes you successful. It is about what you do with what you have. Okay? I've seen many of my colleagues who are toppers in the class, probably they didn't do as well as I did. Okay, so please remember us, as parents, let us remember and say, allow our children to pursue something different. Allow them to be unique, allow them to be different when compared to the other people. So that's the other one. Second point is what I said, treat mental health as is not too different from physical health, and seek medical help, and also support if your family member is going through a situation.
Thank you so much, sir. And Shashi, sir.
There's actually not much to take home other than what both of you are mentioning. Keeping justice as one of the very important ethical principles of, in health, justice is one of the big ethical principles. Justice means treating both of them alike. So it's not, in terms of mental health, and when we had to actually take away the stigma of what mental health is in the current world. I think we must look at every person as a potential to do better from whatever ailment he has, and this can be recognized not only by the person, everyone can't have an insight. So even if we are going to recognize it from an external, we should not just discard it away, but take away, try to see if there is a way in which we need to penetrate that particular person's life and help them out in any way. So I think that's the only thing, that doctor, nurse, student, a professional or anyone, it doesn't matter. So being very
doing justice to the role
everyone
that
is a big
wow.
part of what I want.
Thank you, sir. So let us take about 5 minutes in case you have any questions or want to share anything with any of our panelists here. So we have an open mic now. So let's take about a minute or two. Feel free to ask any questions. Do I ask them to ask you questions? I mean, we can have it that way also.
I actually have a question for all of you, whoever wants to answer. What prompted, I mean, I just want one or two of you to actually, then what prompted you to actually take up this particular course?
That's an interesting question.
I was into life skill and soft skill training. So I was looking into something which is very parallel, where a lot of people started approaching on deeper issues. So I thought I need to gain more knowledge so that I can understand better, and that has led me here.
Wonderful, Subra. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anybody else? Yes,
I'm a folk artist. I play folk drums, and when I go to some of the villages and try to play there, I still found that caste discrimination and other all those kind of violence and all those things. Then I started working with the children and with their education, and I started my own trust called Start a Fire. So to do that better, to work with more, I thought this kind of course would give me more strength to deal with them, communicate with them. So I want to take it further from there. And I also wanted to join NIFA in their further deeds, and I also wanted to expand my business development skills too.
What is NIFA?
NIFA is emotional first aid. We want to be very cool, so we don't want to call it as EFA. So we want to mimic FIFA, so we kind of call ourselves FIFA. Yeah. So just to sound cooler. So within the community, we refer it as IFA enablers. And in fact, Shamila has done tremendous work with these borderline villages, and her stories are phenomenal, where caste system can really shock us, especially when we are so exposed to a mall culture. Her grassroots level story, she's very passionate, and she's also a practitioner of a folk art of drumming, which people used to do to announce newses in the past, our ancestors' times. She is one of those few people who still has a way of conveying messages through drumming. So her whole family does it, and she proudly homeschools her daughter, who's a very passionate drummer to a ballet dancer. So she is a lot of things in one. Thank you, Shalini. Thank you.
And I was just very much connecting with, I didn't get her name when he was talking.
Mr. Matthew.
Matthew, yeah, I'm sorry. And how I started homeschooling my daughter when she says, I didn't want to go to school, I didn't want to write, I didn't want to get, her music schools were cancelled when she was made to finish her maths when she did not write, wherein she was so passionate about going to the class. So that's when this kind of happening didn't happen when I changed her school. 2-3 schools when I changed, everybody were focusing on why she's not writing, when she's not writing. So I decided, let her not write, let her do what she wants, and I just pulled her out of the school. And now she's a ballet dancer, now she's a music composer, and she's on her own. And I'm proud. Yeah.
Thank you, Shalini.
I pulled her out when she was in 2nd standard. Yeah.
Fantastic, brave mommy. Yes. Do we have any other questions? Please.
Yeah.
Hello, so I'm actually from the Hindu and I have a few questions for the panelists. What I wanted to ask is, what do you feel is the importance or the relevance of such a course in your professions?
start. Relevance of the emotional first aid course in our profession, because see, that is the first, distress management is the first step that we do in most of the cases, because a client or a student is coming, and speaking from a school counselor's role, is coming very distressed, right? And immediately, if I start asking a lot of questions about their life, bombarding them with a lot of questions and trying to solve or fix everything, it's not going to work. So first and foremost, at least in my approach, is to reduce that particular student's distress, right? And for that, we need to really practice a lot, starting from the way we conduct ourselves. Like that student have to feel calm and start at least attempt to trust us in that process. So suppose it is a very traumatic incident that child is going through. They will not open up in the first session. They will not open up in the second session. Maybe even after 6 sessions, don't expect anything from that child. Throughout that process, we are ensuring the safety of the child. That's the first thing that we ensure. Is the child calming down? Okay. Is the anxiety level, the arousal level less? All those things are very important skills. And for me personally, working in a school, things escalate very quickly. I especially deal with adolescent population. So I've dealt with a lot of fights and all those things like that. First step, distress management, and this course is going to help you that. And this is very important in other professions also, because as I was saying, in a workplace, things can go wrong because it's not, our daily lives also affect us. So what if I'm having an emotional breakdown in a workspace? Does the manager know how to deal with it? Imagine if the response is pull yourself together. It's not going to work. So how to deal with such situations? So in even in families, even in relationships, this is very important. And then the conversations can start.
Yeah, if you have noticed that earlier we used to have a family physician, but these days that layer is missing. All of us directly think of which specialist or super specialist we have to go to, look at the Google or on our own or whatever it is. I feel this will bridge that layer in the mental health area. It provides the first layer of people who are trained to talk to the people who are going through these issues, identify the severity, okay, and then guide them in a professional way. Like for example, some of the examples I gave, because I went through that kind of experience in my family, I could understand and probably guide. But then it stopped there, I couldn't go further because I don't have the tools, or I'm not professionally trained, I've not taken up in a course in a structured way to understand what the person is going through and how do you analyze and how do you guide. But I think this one will bridge that gap, and it will equip you with to approach those issues in a more structured way and guide them in the correct way. Either you have to directly go to a psychiatrist or just a simple counselor or psychologist, etc. That's my opinion.
I have actually 2 reasons why this might be very useful. I mean, number one is I work in a company called Cloud Physician, where we actually try to provide ICU services to places which do not have skilled professionals. I'm just trying to relate it to the same thing. It may be the Apollos and the Manipals of Bangalore may be the only places who have skilled professionals, but there are 90 other hospitals in Bangalore alone out of 100 hospitals which do not have an intensivist, and that is only in a big Cosmo metropolitan city. Same thing in maybe around 20 cities in the country, and there are 70,000 hospitals only in South India, no intensivist. Just imagine for a profession which has a big taboo attached to it, and probably that one person who can look after cannot cater 1.4 billion population. And I think, as everyone mentioning in terms of the first, it is about access. I think access is the huge thing which such information, a structured way in which it is taken brings it. So access is a very important thing, and the related is the taboo. I mean, no matter how much we want to become forward-thinking, we are still living in a society which cannot change all of a sudden just because 25 of us ask it to change. As a doctor-patient relationship purely as, oh, you are God, and we don't consider ourselves as God anyway. So we started understanding that yes, that is going to be a part of it. So as I said, there are only 4 basic ethical principles of medicine we need to think about. Just like you mentioned, drink 8 glasses of water and 8 hours of sleep. So if we follow this at all times, do no harm, make sure the patient is benefited, the justice part of it. And if you
yet, but we're going to have a batch photograph. This is the first batch, and we're going to have your convocation in some time. So we're going to have a batch photograph with all our esteemed guests. And
it's okay? Oh, yeah.
Punish request you to lower your certificate a bit. Yeah, please.
Please hold your certificate.
Yeah, cheese.
never had this in my life.
my name is Sunita K Mani, and I am the founder of the Emotional First Aid Academy. And what you're seeing right now on the 25th of November 2023 is the convocation of the front line of emotional first aid providers. We have prepared about 25 students who can give the immediate, impactful support of mental health that is required for India today. So we have the joy and the privilege of partnering with Chow Foundation, where our students would have an opportunity to work with the acid attack survivors, and we are in a collaboration of helping them move forward and become mental health champions themselves, and also support their cafe, where we are looking at tying up and having our products of emotional first aid kits available in their Shiro's cafe. So today the students are certified by the State University of New York, Potsdam campus. The message that Emotional First Aid Academy says to the whole of the nation is this: mental health is every person's birthright, and we don't have to wait until therapy to seek help. Help is available every day, and we are here to provide that. Thank you all so much.
Yes, I am CVG Prasad. It has been a pleasure to attend this event, and my message is that just like physical health, mental health is equally important. Just like you seek medical help for physical health, it is good to seek medical help for mental health as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And Dr. Shashi and then I'm a cloud physician healthcare in the one of the faculty ಆಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಎಮೋಷನಲ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಏಡ್ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ಅವರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಫ್ 25 ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಏಡ್ ಎನೇಬಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನಂದರೆ ಇದು ಈ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಡಿಪ್ರೆಷನ್ನು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಲೋನ್ಲಿನೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸೈಕ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಯಾರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸೈಕ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಸ್ಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಟ್ ಈ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋರೆಲ್ಲ ಆ ಥರ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇರೋರನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್
ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡರ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗದೇ ಇರೋ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸು. ಇದೇ ಥರ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸೈಕ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕೇರಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗೋ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಗೆ ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ that's my message for today. Thank you.
मेरा नाम आलोक दीक्षित है और मैं छाव फाउंडेशन का फाउंडर हूँ. हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एसिड अटैक सर्वाइवर्स के साथ काम करती है. आज इमोशनल फर्स्ट एड एकेडमी के साथ हमारा एक टाई अप भी हुआ है और हमें खुशी है कि ये एकेडमी न सिर्फ लोगों को हेल्प कर रही है बल्कि एसिड अटैक सर्वाइवर्स को पर्टिकुलरली हेल्प करेगी, उन्हें इस बारे में ट्रेनिंग देगी ताकि वो अपने लाइफ में अपने करियर में आगे बढ़ सके. और ये बहुत खुशी की बात है. साथ साथ हम ये भी कोशिश करेंगे कि हम सबके जो कलेक्टिव एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं वो लोगों तक पहुँचें. तो ये आज जो टाई अप हुआ है उसके लिए हम बहुत खुश हैं और बहुत अच्छा लगा. आज ये फर्स्ट बैच पास आउट हुआ, उसको बहुत बहुत बधाई.
Thank you.